I'm glad to be here. Hello, everyone. Welcome aboard the PowerToFly Pride at Work train. Before we dive right into things, and as people saunter on into this session, I'd like to begin by thanking all parties profoundly for making the time for this little virtual fireside chat of ours. I know we haven't talked about anything just yet, but the queer, or maybe I should say the LGBTQIA plus movement utterly appreciates you for every single second of time you're about to invest in this conversation. The movement salutes you. I salute you, honestly. The second salute goes out to you, our very own Jasmine T. Jacobs. The community salutes you as well. PowerToFly salutes you. We are honored and excited at the opportunity to have you share your insights and viewpoints. If you've ever wanted to compare any of those viewpoints with those of others, and this is the perfect opportunity. First, with me, a gay man grown up in Africa, Kenya. Yep, happy Pride to you too, Africa. And with every single individual that's tuned into this call right this moment. So yes, everyone, just keep those queries coming along as we go along. So today we're going to be talking about inclusion, access, and opportunity, particularly from the lens of the Black Remote Chi platform, which you founded, Jasmine.
Yes.
So I suppose for starters, please tell us a bit about yourself and what led you to start the Black Remote Chi platform.
Yeah, I was born and raised in South Carolina, which wasn't the most welcoming environment for me as a queer person coming up. I was raised and born in a really small town. And I moved to Connecticut in 2016, dealing with a lot of shame around my sexuality, but eventually coming into myself, moving in a more progressive state with my wife. And I became a freelancer that same year, which allowed me to experience working remotely for the first time. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But it was something that a lot of my family members and my friends were not familiar with in the Black LGBT community. And even just in the Black community in general. And I felt like the flexibility that it offered me was something that I really wanted to share with other queer and trans and non-binary folks. And so I launched the Black Remote She YouTube channel in September 2019. And I talked about being a queer person. I talked about spirituality. I talked about working remotely and the positive impact that it's had on my life. But about a month before the national emergency was announced for the pandemic, I actually launched the Black Remote She website. And I launched the website instead of focusing on YouTube to really create a progressive job system for Black, queer, and trans women, non-binary folks, and allies interested in working remotely.
It's great that you should actually bring up your YouTube channel, and because it ties into your, of course, your decision to actually just start this whole venture. I believe what is it you said? Don't wait for the right opportunity, create it, right?
Yeah.
And that's precisely what you're doing, right? Which is all
Absolutely.
something we could do, particularly within the context in which we live. I'm curious as well. Regarding the Black Remote She platform, what are some of the ways you think that the audience or people like me who love what you do can support the platform?
Yeah, sharing the resource. I really think a lot of the growth for Black Remote She has happened through the community, and really being able to share this resource with people that are looking for remote work, and even with organizations that are worth being on the Black Remote She website that are really focused and driven by equity and inclusion in the workplace. Share our post a job page with them. And for people that are looking for remote work, share our remote jobs page with them. Let them know that that option is available.
Great. Thank you for that. And more so, I'm curious because, of course, you did highlight your own personal experience prior to launching Black Remote She. Can members from the audience or even me share our own personal experiences about our own workplaces on your platform?
Yes, actually, we have a partnership with Black Owned and Hiring. And
Uh-huh.
they originally had a survey focused on the Black experience in the workplace, and Black Remote She partnered with them to capture the Black LGBTQ plus experience in the workplace. And
Uh-huh.
that survey can be accessible on our website, but I think that it may be being revamped right now. So if you join the Black Remote She newsletter, which is accessible on our homepage at blackremoteshe.com, you can get alerted whenever that survey is back up. But basically, that survey is an opportunity to let folks know what places have been safe for you and what places haven't.
Great. And more so, I'm curious still as well, given that the jobs on the Black Remote She platform are remote, what are some of the ways Black, queer, trans women, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people can bring the authentic selves in the workplace, in a workplace, particularly given the whole, remote setting? Do you think there's still a chance or an opportunity for us to just bring ourselves forward and say we are here, we are proud, and yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that prioritizing self-care and limiting non-work related screen time is important. You can only be your best self when you feel balanced within yourself, and when you prioritize your well-being, it's a lot easier to bring that type of balance into your workplace. And I also think it's easier to notice when your workplace is out of balance, when you are more balanced within your home or whenever you're working, but also in your personal life. When you feel balanced and you feel at peace within your home, it's a lot easier to bring that into your work life.
Oh, that's actually an interesting supposition. Having balance in a remote setting can actually help you uh, bring a voice into your work life. Actually, that's actually that's good. So actually, now that we broached the whole workspace conversation, do you think there may be any ways that organizations can have values and policies that support the community?
Absolutely. I really think it's important to not make assumptions about what your workers need, what your team needs. Really connect with your employees and with people that are onboarding to your organization to make sure that the needs that you're setting up within your company culture fits the people that you're bringing in your team. And I think even with COVID-19, a lot of people's needs have changed. And I think it's important to be flexible and check in with folks and really see what people need right now. There's a lot of parents dealing with having lunchtime for themselves that they may have pushed previously, but now they have children to take care of. So I think, checking in with your employees and seeing, is there anything within your role that would be more helpful for you to have a more balanced work life? People are experiencing burnout, and that doesn't create a good company culture. So I think making sure that you can check in with folks and see what they need is really important.
I love that you. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would just also add, make sure that your policies make space for people, and schedules really normalize working outside of business hours, the traditional business hours that you may have, and make sure that people can have space for their own flexibility. Typically, people do go into remote work for flexibility. So I think that people find that important. So make sure that you're leaving that open for your team.
Uh-huh. I was just going to say real quick that I actually love that you broached that factor, that the very beginning, the very answer for inclusion is actually knowing the group of people, that you're actually trying to affect. So yeah, I think you're right. Workplaces definitely should pay more attention to their staffers and employees in that regard. Now I'm going to dive back onto onto your platform for a little as well. What kind of jobs are available on the platform?
There's a mixture of everything. There's a lot
Mhm.
of tech-focused jobs, software engineer openings, um, marketing, communications, development, fundraising, really everything. It changes every week, but there is a new digest that goes up on the website every week. If you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get that alert every Saturday. And that gives folks an opportunity to see if there's contract positions open, if there's part-time, full-time, there's always a combination of things. We also add fellowships on there. It just depends on what people are looking for, but there's a combination of things. So there's something for everyone.
Oh, and just to clarify as well, they're all limited to remote roles. There's none, of course, that fall outside that scope.
They're all remote, but some roles may require folks to be in person once or twice a week whenever the world
Mhm.
opens back up. A lot of
Uh-huh.
the places that I've been putting on the website are maybe going back in person once or twice a week in the fall, or in 2022. But there's a combination. Sometimes it'll always be specific. So it'll say if it's US remote, if it's remote international, if it's remote, but it requires you to live in a specific state, it's always very specific to the location, but there's always a remote option available.
Great. So, and more so in that regard, given, of course, your own personal experience and, of course, your experience building or putting together the platform, what is one piece of advice you would give probably me and our audience today? Dig deep, dig deep. No pressure, though.
Take care of yourself. There's a lot going on. And I feel like, when you're showing up to work, you want to make sure that you're good first. I really believe in wellness and really prioritizing wellness. I think that it's made a huge difference for me in my remote life. Working remotely for the past few years, I've always been at my best at work when I've been at my best in my home and within myself and my well-being. And I just strongly advocate for being clear about the separation and boundaries that you have with your work life and your home life. If you're working at home, working remotely can mean that you're working from anywhere, but in these COVID times, most of us are working at home. So make sure that you know what you would like to be existing in your work life when you're working at home, and you can set the boundaries that you need so that you can share that when you're looking for a new role with the people that you're interviewing with, or when you're at your current job and you're trying to figure out how they can make the work culture better for you. Know exactly what you want, and you can do that when you're taking care of yourself and prioritizing your well-being.
That is, of course, a very fundamental element. Taking care of yourself is is a fundamental element, particularly within the context that that we're trying to transform ourselves into. It's super important. But I would say, Jasmine, I'm still curious about one element, I suppose, that I would like to roll back over into, and that concerns the dynamic that you think remote work introduces into the whole inclusion conversation. I suppose someone would posit the idea that though it's hard on our community at the very least, our physical presence demands recognition, right? I suppose you can, of course, see how that would make sense, right?
100%.
So do you think that remote work could potentially take away a little of that recognition?
Not necessarily. I think with remote work, like beyond just this color of our skin, there's different types of bodies. There's abled and disabled bodies, and some people really need to be able to be in a comfortable seat or being on the couch, sometimes being in the bed and being able to just be on the phone to work. And I don't think that people should have to stop their well-being in their life based on not being able to get to work because they don't have a car, or not being able to really sit at a office desk because that's not their preferred. I think it's all in preference as well. Some people, it's just not for them. But I do think, especially now virtually, it's even easier to really see people's faces. We've had a lot of companies just like at the forefront and not necessarily the team. And I feel like in the virtual environment, it's a lot easier to really see people's faces and know who you're working with and see them and have people be seen.
Great, interesting. So more so, like I've said as well, so do you think that potentially any situations in which we can actually kind of somewhat keep organizations still aware of the fact that, hey, even though we're working from home, our recognition demands to be felt. We're still here, don't forget things like that. Like an element, of course, if that is a risk, we run to play.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think honestly, I put a lot of pressure on organizations as well. Check in with your employees, talk to your employees, see what they need. Some people are looking for leadership opportunities, and it's, just depending on, again, preference. Like there's introverts where it may be a little more comfortable for them to have a conversation with you on the phone or via video chat, like you and I are talking, and to really say, like, I'm looking for growth opportunity. I'm looking to evolve. I have done X amount of things during this time. I pivoted in COVID. Here are the things that I really want to be seen. And if they're not seeing you, that's a sign to move on. So I think it all comes down to preference and just how your work culture is working for you.
Uh-huh. And of course, still within the whole subject of remote work, how has it worked for you, particularly, of course, taking on remote work? Are there any revelations that you think you've come to?
Yeah, I've learned that I don't like dressing up. I love to be comfortable in my clothes. Like I have on shorts and the shirt. I love to just like be able to really be within myself. And I feel that more when I'm in my home, in my house. I 100% prefer to be giving this conversation over the camera than to be giving it in person. So that's, that's me. But as an introvert that's slightly extroverted, like it's a great thing for me. It's been a part of my life for the past few years. Even if I had jobs in between, I've had in-person jobs in the process of working remotely the past few years. But I officially pivoted over the past couple years to just being fully remote, and I love it. And I love being able to share that option with other people.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm sporting I'm still sporting a sweater now, but that's just
Yeah.
that's just for you guys.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. Uh, Great. So, more so, I'm curious. More so, what's next for Black Remote She?
So much. I want to have a job board. Right now, everything is with weekly digest, which is great. I mean, it's doable. It works for people. But to really be able to have a job board to improve the user experience on the website and to capture the actual impact that Black Remote She has been making. I love receiving emails and hearing that people were able to get a job from being on the website, or really have an amazing interview where they were able to connect with people, or to share the job with their partner and their partner got a job. And I just wish that I could capture that a little better by it actually being able to be people can actually say that they've gotten a job directly from our site. An app, I would love to have an app. A lot of our users are mobile. And so having an actual app where people can just go to it and get alerts immediately when new jobs are up would be really helpful too. And an ergonomic fun. Like I think with working remotely, especially now, people are in the house, and I dealt with a lot of pain within my wrists, my back, and I've had to learn how to really set up a setup that works for me. But I want to really help. I know that it's expensive, it costs a lot. I've had contractors that have been able to pay for it if that's something that they offer, but not everyone has access to that. So creating an ergonomic fund is something that's important to me.
Well, yeah. I think I really hope that up. I mean, I'll definitely be keeping my eyes peeled. But ultimately, is that the vision you have for the platform? Like, if it could culminate in all of your wildest dreams, what would the platform be?
Yeah, I mean, on a larger scale, a big goal that I have for Black Remote She is to have multiple initiatives, from wellness to housing to food, being able to have funds within those different initiatives, but also resources. Black Remote She started as a resource place, even when it was on YouTube. I talked about a lot of the places that I've discovered in my journey of remote work and the safe places that I found for me, not only as somebody that has worked in regular offices, but also someone that is now an entrepreneur. I just really enjoy being able to share resources, and I've had housing resources on the back end of the website that I've been able to share with people coming to the site that are like, I'd love to apply to these jobs, but my home is not safe. So I've been collecting resources over the past year across the country, across the globe, to really capture some of those places and places that people can within our community go and feel safe.
Thank you for that, Jasmine. So we actually have about 15 minutes left. So I'm gonna hop on over to a few queries from the community, or maybe I should say the audience. Feel free to keep them coming, everyone. First, regards a query on from on our livelihood. Does the platform cater to allies of the community? Does it offer them opportunity and jobs as well, or is it just limited to a, I suppose, LGBTQIA plus community?
Yes, it's for everyone. So it's prioritize for Black, queer, and trans folks, non-binary people, and gender non-conforming people, but allies are also welcome. It's a community for all of us.
Thank you for that. Here's another one from Jonathan. How has the impact of COVID-19 shifted Black remote she's scope, factoring in that now a lot of people are having to work from home or remotely?
I think it helped. It really helped raise awareness. Like I said, when I wanted to start Black Remote She initially as a YouTube channel, a lot of my personal family, my friends, the people around me didn't know about remote work as an option. And I feel like COVID really just brought awareness to it. Like a lot of people know about it now. They know that it's an option. Most people were forced to go into it in some way, shape, or form, unless you were an essential worker. But it's something that's well known now. So I think that it helped really just bring that awareness. And in the time of movements that are happening that are really important to be happening, it's a space that people were able to see and immediately recognize as a safe place. And that's really what we're all looking for right now.
Oh, so it's more likely that the COVID-19 situation actually more of birthed the scope, the scope of the Black Sheep platform rather than the, of course, the converse.
For sure.
Okay, makes total sense. We have one from Joe. No, BRS has garnered a lot of interest from employers. I would be curious to hear of a partnership or relationship you feel really good about, and maybe one you had to push back on and maybe decline, and why?
Yeah, we have beta partners with Black Remote She, and those beta partners have been phenomenal to really keeping the platform going, and also just to be able to support, and we cross promote with each other. But I have mostly had to push back on partnerships where I felt like within my research of vetting the company, some things just didn't feel right, or it was an all white team, which just simply can't be ignored for me at least. And I've had to just be a little hesitant to have people just immediately feel like they can add things. Salaries not being on jobs are things that I've had to turn down. I believe in transparent hiring, and so I don't add any jobs on the website anymore. I did in the beginning, but I don't add any jobs on the website without having a salary included. I think that people want to apply to a job and know what their well-being can be financially within that job. And people that are they went back into the office a little sooner than I personally thought was okay. I didn't want to add those jobs on the website with just it's only going to be remote for a month and then you're going back in the office. So I've had to push back on those employers.
Great. So we're just about at the end, and before we clock out, I'd like to acknowledge and thank you, Jasmine, for all your viewpoints and all your time. Thank you for the insights you've shared. Maybe I suppose before we clock out, maybe just dive right in and share a few wild words with the community.
Thank you so much for having me, PowerToFly. This is amazing. I'm Ian. It's been lovely speaking with you. Black Remote She is growing because of people being able to recognize the platform and wanting to share it with other folks. So people know that this is an option for them. And amazing platforms like PowerToFly as well exist for our community focused on diversity, which is not only important now, it's always been important. But I appreciate being able to have this platform to speak and share a little bit more about why I personally started Black Remote She. And I really want people to be seen. That was also a part of why I started the YouTube channel in the first place. I didn't see a lot of people that look like me, dress like me, exist like me, leading things. And it took a lot of courage on my end to start that process and not just wait for someone else to do it. But I recognize how it's been important for me as a small town South Carolina person coming up in the world and wanting to see myself and other people and know that anything, literally anything is possible, including working from my office desk, which my grandmother would just say, what does that even mean? So I love being able to share this with other people and let people know that it's an option. And thank you for the support that has come in, and for all of the people that now know about Black Remote She. I hope that you can find a safe working place for you on that platform.
Yep. Thank you as well, Jasmine. And I thank you to everyone that's tuned in so far. We utterly appreciate all the time you've invested in this session thus far. It's been a treat. And happy Pride, of course. Fundamentally, that is something very fundamental. Don't you dare forget about that.
Happy Pride.